We're back in the kitchen trying to do some canning today. If we sound stuffy, it's because we've all got a cold.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the production at the house doesn't stop when you have a cold. And so we wanted to tell you a little bit about canning. Try to get you not scared of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be intimidated by it. You can do it. It's totally doable. But today, since we all are stuffy, all of us, myself, my wife, both of our girls, Lee is crying. We're going to go ahead and do this together. My wife does a biggest majority of this, but I'm trying to help her out some today. When everybody's kind of feeling under the weather, everyone's kind of whiny. You have everyone. You just got to jump in and help each other out. So that's what we're doing today. What are we canning today?
Tomatoes, carrots, and hot peppers, and a little bit of okra.
And a little bit of okra.
And bell peppers, guys.
And bell peppers. You guys cut them and froze them yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you don't want to let them garden goodies go to waste, right? You want to make sure that you have them to eat come wintertime.
Yes.
So, what do you enjoy about canning? Because I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of work.
Yes. It's not hard work, but it is time consuming. Excuse me. I like canning because you're preserving food for your family. You know, that you're going to eat, and I myself get a satisfaction out of that for providing in my family in that way. So that's why I like it.
That's why you like. I like it because it tastes good.
Yes. There's a difference when you can green beans and you buy a can of store-bought green beans. It's completely different.
Completely different.
And I like, you know why I like it that way?
Why do you like to can, Luella?
Because it's better with salt.
It's better with
She
salt.
said it's better with salt. That's why Luella likes to can, right? You can make it as salty as you want to. Make it taste like the ocean if you want it to taste like the ocean. So, we've made some mistakes before and had some stuff that tastes like the ocean.
Yeah.
It does happen every once in a while. So, guys, we're going to take you along. We're going to go ahead and show you. We've kind of already started. We maybe should have started the video a little bit earlier, but we're going to go ahead and show you what we've already done with our tomatoes and try to show you kind of the process here. We're not going to leave it recording the entire process because it's a lengthy process.
Yeah.
And that's a really long video to show you a few steps. There's lots of waiting when you can,
Yeah.
which is why I'm not good at it.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm not very patient. So, we're going to go ahead and kind of show you our bowl here that we have. So this is our tomatoes in this bowl. So, sweetheart, could you tell us how we got them to where they are now, what we've done, all of that good stuff?
Well, you pick them and you wash them. No, don't touch. And you just boil some water. I use this big pot. Thank you to my mother-in-law for letting me borrow it.
Got to work together.
And you blanch them. So you, like I said, you have your pot of boiling water. You put them in there after you wash them, just for like a minute until the skin kind of splits. I did mine a little too long this time, but it'll split. And then you fill this with ice water, and so you just dip them. I use a soup spoon, and I just dip them into the ice water, and then you can peel them and cut out the core in the middle, that kind of hard spot. The skin will just tear off. It'll be so soft.
And we'll show you guys
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
show
show
you
you
that.
guys that.
In a little bit, but and then you'll quarter them. You cut them in half and quarter them, and we're gonna heat it all up and get it ready to put in the jars.
So there you go. Make the best macaroni and tomatoes you ever did eat.
Yes, sir.
Some of y'all are just now asking what is macaroni and tomatoes. You have been deprived in this life if you've never had a boiled elbow noodle drained off with melted butter, a little bit of milk, some crushed tomatoes, Parmesan cheese, and pepper. If you ain't never had that, you're missing out. We'll post you the yummy recipe one of these days. That is an ultimate comfort food at our house, right? That's when you're sick and you don't feel good, you break out the macaroni and tomatoes.
And you ever put the salt in the apple?
And you put salt in it. Our youngin' likes her salt, don't you? All right, guys, come along with us as we can up some tomatoes. This means we're eating fresh, flavored, yummy tasting tomatoes in January. And as you guys hear the baby crying in the background, this is what I mean, right? Everybody's puny, everybody's sick. And so today, while we do this, this means that me and the wife have to work together to try to keep everything under some sort of not craziness. Are you bringing in your stool, sweetheart? Bringing in your stool. All right. So we're going to get to work now. As Luella does drag her chair up here, I want you guys to know, here's newest little homesteader.
Leah.
Say hi, Leah Joe. So, Luella, you guys all seen, drug her chair up here like she knew what she was doing. She loves to help her mama can. She loves to help her mama cook. And we try to let her go ahead and do everything that is safe for her to do, or pretty safe for her to do.
Yeah.
So that she'll learn how to do this. She may never use it growing up, but if she ever has to, she'll at least know how.
Yes.
Isn't that right? What about you, baby Leah? What do you like about canning? Huh, Leah? Can you tell us? Can you tell us what you like about canning? You like cuddles with mama. That's what you like. All right, let's take you along. Let's get started. All right, so we want to show you how easy these are to skin. Still hot?
Yeah. Look, it just peels right off. And most of it's already off anyway.
Right. Why are we saving the skins? What are we doing with them?
We will feed them back to our chickens.
And they love them.
We save our scraps, all of them. Except we need to get a new compost bucket.
Yeah. Yeah. Compost bucket with a lid to give to our chickens. So now she's just cutting the top off of it.
Cut the top off.
Cut
And
the core
sometimes
out.
with these little ones, it's a little easier for me. Because the core is very hard to get to. So I kind of just cut around the core sometimes.
Then you just quarter them up and put them in your pot, and we'll show you what happens after that. So basically, right, you just quarter them up.
And put the core in for the scraps.
That's right, for the scrap bucket. So basically, this is just Pete and repeat, right?
Yeah, so you get all of them done.
At this moment. So this
is the long part, though.
Yeah, this is the hard part about peeling or canning tomatoes. And so I'm going to jump in and help her peel these things. Now, if you'll notice, she's got the large white bowl, and I've got the smaller white bowl because she's going to do most of the work. Yeah, you're welcome anytime, right? But anyway, we can both get to work on it this way.
And, by the way, if they have any bad spots, too, cut them off. Like them little, little wormholes or something. We just cut them off, you know.
Just cut around them, yeah. You don't want that in your canning jar. You don't want to get yourself sick or nobody else.
Yeah.
But this doesn't have to be scary, right? As long as you are thoughtful about what you're doing, it doesn't have to be scary, right? And you can do it safely.
Yes.
And you can provide for your family, not have to pay the outrageous prices at the grocery store. And so I know what you're thinking, right? Probably anyway. Well, you said outrageous prices, but how much did it cost you to grow the tomatoes? How much did it cost you to get all the stuff to can it and all that? And that's a good question. That's something we're going to try. I've been trying to figure out. This year's kind of an anomaly. It's hard to get lids, flats. It's hard to get jars, all of that good stuff. But typically you pay somewhere around $1 a jar that's got the lid and the ring with it. The first time you use it, right? And you can reuse the jar and the ring. You have to usually get a new lid. So your jar cost over time really gets cheap, or really gets a lot cheaper because you use it for multiple years, right? So 1 year you may use one jar to can green beans, and the next year you may use it for more green beans or tomatoes or what have you. So that's a price that's going to be hard to wrap your head around altogether. because over the years the jars definitely pay for themselves. So really, what you have to figure on, your startup cost is going to be high when you're trying to can. Because you do have to get your jars, and you have to get a supply of jars. A good place to look, Facebook Marketplace, yard sales, those kinds of things. But make sure you're not paying much more than about $1 a jar, because you should be able to buy them new for that, or pretty close to that. Your canners are expensive, but you use them for years. So our new canner that we got for Christmas one year, thank you. Thanks to Mama Leanne for our new canner. But it should, if we take care of it, last us our whole life, truthfully. And it's a very safe, very easy to use canner. But it was expensive. However, like I said, it'll pay for itself over time. It just takes some time to do that. So your startup cost is pretty high. There's no doubt about that. But, man alive, it will definitely pay for itself over time. Not just financially, but the food is so much better. And it's healthier for you. I know that, once again, very skeptical-minded person that I am. But I know that I feel a lot better. The more homegrown, home-canned, home-processed food that we eat, the better that I feel. And so you can't really put a number on that, I guess. But I know, right, it can be a little daunting at start. But if you're smart, you try to catch some sales, you look around, yard sales and those kinds of things, you can probably get your startup cost way down if you would do that. So, like I said, we'll just bring you back in kind of at the next step after you peel them and core them. Save all your scraps for your chickens. If you got chickens or pigs or I don't know what else would eat tomato scraps. You're gonna can a cow?
No, even if you milk cows.
And if you milk cows, yeah. One of these days, huh, sweetheart? We're gonna try to have a milk cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And piggies.
And piggies.
All right, guys. Right now, we have our canner full of our jars. What I did, you have to sanitize the jars. So I washed the jars. We've got our lids back there. Oop, it steamed up on me. On some low, just so they'll be hot. You fill these jars up with water completely to the top, and I set them down in the canner. And then you take your canner and fill it full of water until the jars are covered. And then you let it boil for 10 minutes. So you're going to sanitize your jars. Then over here, I didn't want to have to wash 2 different pots, so that's why there's not very much tomatoes in this big pot. But we've got our crushed tomatoes. This is what they look like before we heat them up. What we're going to do, and I'll come back after they heat them up, but you just keep stirring them. We got some of the excess water off of them, because if you leave it on there, it will be super juicy when you can them, which you want some, but not that much. But you'll stir them, and you'll just kind of do this a little bit, not the whole time. You'll kind of crush them up a little bit if you want to, or you don't have to because we dumped the excess water off. So you just stir them for, do you remember how long they said?
5 minutes once they're boiling, I think.
5 minutes once they're boiling. I'll double check. And we'll come back to you after they heat up. Alright, so we have let them simmer or boil or whatever. We kind of crushed them up like this with a wooden spoon a little bit with some of the bigger chunks for 5 minutes. So that's what they look like. Not much different. He's putting some vinegar in.
I forgot.
To the jars that have been sanitized, because if you don't, when you take them out after canning, they will fog up a little bit.
Because we have very hard water here in the state of Missouri.
Yes. And while this was simmering, my wonderful husband was helping me. These are the carrots. So while we were doing that, we have to get the next vegetable washed and ready to go. So
I was doing really good till I lost my knife. I don't know. Oh, here it is.
say hi.
Hi.
All right. So, and that's just part of the process when you're trying to can more than one thing. When you're trying to provide for yourselves, not just for a summer. I'm talking about through the winter and lasting into the next garden season.
Get your hands
You
out
know,
of there,
and I give it away, as gifts sometimes, or our church auctions, or stuff like that.
we tithe out of
We
it.
tithe out of it. So,
These carrots still got a long way to go. So basically all
Yeah.
we've done is cut the tops off, the green part.
washed 'em.
Give them the first washing and cut the little bitty. You can see there's a little taproot of a thing that we're cutting off. So I still got a lot, like we still got to cut the ends completely off. We're going to slice them into little rounds to can them. And this will be not only food for us, but baby food for little Leah Joe that you guys seen a while ago. So in those long periods of waiting in between, if you got somebody else working with you, so a lot of times like my mom will come over and help Melissa can. And so if you have those long periods of time that you're waiting on stuff to boil, you can be doing other things for your next set of canner or your next canner set. That way, it don't take as long on your next set.
So these are great things to have. You can put this in your jar so you don't make a mess when you fill it. I'll show you how to use that in a second. This is what you grab your hot jars with, and since we had already dumped or filled these with hot water, now, because we actually, when we can them, you only need 2 inches of water total in the
Pressure canner.
pressure canner. So we're going to take this, and it's a little scary, but just make sure you got a good grip on it. And you dump the water out in the sink. And then always have like this, whatever it's called that you,
Cooling rack, I
Cooling
think.
rack,
is what it's
yeah.
called.
and you put that in there. And that's very hot, so don't forget that. I need a soup spoon, wherever it is.
Oh, it's in that drawer, Mama.
Oh, here it is, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Alright, so we already crushed them up. We don't really need that. I use a soup spoon and dump it in here. I usually fill it about half full because, whoop, that's a little over half, but it's okay. So I wrote it down. I don't think you have to, but I like the taste of it. Our canner book says you can do this, so this is what we did.
Uh-huh.
If you do something different, excuse me, whatever
What was
works for
that?
you. And alright, so these are pints. So we have to do half a teaspoon, according to our canner book, like I said, of salt. This is a whole teaspoon, so I'm just kind of guessing here.
And then we put it in there.
And we have lemon juice.
Uh-huh.
And we, for a pint, have to do 1 tablespoon of lemon juice.
Hey, Luella, can you back your head
Back
up?
up, Luella.
There you go.
Whoa. Whee! There it goes.
There it goes. And then you just fill it the rest of the way up.
Uh-huh.
And you leave, oops, I may have done a little too much.
A half inch, if I remember right.
You have to kind of take it out to see how full it is. That's probably good. You
Looks
think?
good. Looks pretty close anyway.
Maybe a little bit.
Now it says.
Yeah, it's better to be just a little bit short than to have too much in there because it won't work out good for you.
About now.
That's probably, yeah.
Okay. Now you take your lids over here that we had warmed up in our little saucepan. And if you have juice around the edges and stuff, you can take a tea towel or whatever over here and you can just wipe around the edges.
Yeah, you don't want any seeds or anything.
You don't want
in there.
any seeds or anything like that. You take your jars that you had warm if I can get it.
You gotta be quick with the fingers on this
Yep.
move.
And the more you do it, the faster you'll get. The first several times I did it, I was really slow.
Yeah, do you put them in there?
Yep, you put it in there, don't you?
Uh-huh.
Make sure you got a good grip on it.
Uh-huh. Then put
Yeah.
it in there. And get that
And-
one.
That's it, and you got to keep doing that till all your jars are full. And after that, we'll come back to you and tell you what we're going to do.
Show you about putting the lid
Next.
on and stuff.
Yeah.
So also, I'm just going to add real quick, the reason why we don't just pull all the jars out of the canner, right,
Yes.
dump all the water out, and then fill them and all that, and then put them all back in there is because they'll cool down too much. So we do one at a time, fairly quickly, reasonably quickly, and that allows you to keep your jar hot so you can put it back in that boiling water without having to worry about breaking your jar. And if you think, well, I don't know if it'll really break as long as you're gentle, I can tell you from
Yes, it will.
experience that it will break. We've broke some jars this year
What Mama doing?
letting things cool down too much
Okay. I'll get them.
and trying to
Oh,
find
you're
ways
not-
to make things
No, no.
faster.
Sorry.
Luella's trying to spill all our lemon juice, trying to make things faster. So it's okay to move a little bit slower
No,
and keep the process
I am not.
keep the process from breaking jars and that kind of stuff. So we'll just show you guys what it looks like here in a little bit.
So today we're going to can that tomatoes.
What? What are we getting ready to do?
Get ready.
Get ready to can them.
Get ready to can them.
And this is what they look like.
This is what they look like.
And before we put the lid on.
Yeah, before we put the lid on.
So we've got 4 pints ready to go.
That's right. So there's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of water down the bottom of the pot like we had talked about. And just because I'm weird, I don't know that it makes a whole lot of difference. I like one to kind of be in the middle
I do,
of the canner. I don't know that scientifically it does anything for them other than my head. So then we just put our lid on, right? Now our canner has got an arrow and it's got a little notch. See that arrow? It's fogging up. And it's got a little notch here, and those two line up, right? So we slide it down. We turn the canner. Doo-doo.
And then you turn it a little bit.
So all the cannon books say don't do this. So you guys don't see this. All right.
Take the weight off.
So, yes, important to not have the weight
Yes.
on there when you start anyway. So our canner here is a friction can. It's all metal on metal. There's not a gasket in it. And we have pre-greased the outside ring that's on the inside of the canner now. That little beveled end, it's pre-greased so that it will seal up. And then all we do, this particular style canner has got these little kind of wing nut type deals on there, and you make sure that they are
Do
even.
not touch
Yeah, the metal will be
the-
hot.
metal part.
You make sure that they're even, and you can start to hear some of that steam now coming out of here, which is a good thing. This is what we want.
Trying to see it on camera, I think.
So we gotta let it steam for 10 minutes. Is that right, sweetheart?
Yes.
Uh,
Steam for 10 minutes. Once you see
Like a
steam coming
steady
out,
white
steady steam.
stream, semi-scary sounding stream coming out. So these wing nuts on the side of our particular brand of canner, they're not all like this, but our particular brand, tight's important, but even's more important. So you want your lid fairly even, and ours is not even close. You hear baby Leah crying. This is why we're doing this together today, because little puny
Oh.
breaking our heart. We'll get to you in just a second, Leah Joe. Alright, so now we're good. And we just let it get to that point where it's steaming really, really hard. And we do that for 10 minutes. And then at our elevation, where we are in Missouri, you have to use a 15-pound weight, which I don't know if you guys can
You're
see.
going to the light.
See on there that 15 pound. We'll put it on there. Once it gets up to 15 pounds, it'll start jiggling, and you want it to jiggle every about 3 times a minute, 4 times a minute.
Yeah.
and then you start your process time. So our canner is brand new to us. It was given to us as a gift, brand new, and it come with a Canon book. And in that book, it gives you all of these,
You want to tell them what kind it is, maybe?
a whole bunch of recipes, and it gives you kind of how to do it. So this is the Canon book, right? All-American Pressure Cooker Canner. And then in the book, it tells you the directions on how to do it. So if you hear anything talking about, like, at our elevation, you have to do this, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't even know what elevation I'm at. First of all, read your book, learn how to can the stuff that it says to can, and then just Google your elevation. It'll tell you. And then you can figure out how long you have to process that stuff by. So now it's just kind of a waiting game.
We'll come back to you guys.
Come back.
So, let's see if you can see that. That is that steady stream. I hope you guys can see it. That I was talking about, that you do for 10 minutes. And got the timer going. So, I will come back to you when the 10 minutes is up, and we will put the weight on.
Alright guys, so our 10 minutes of hard steaming is up, and now we're going to put the weight on, which I kind of jokingly say is the scariest part of the whole thing, right? So you just, let me try to hold the camera a little bit different. There we go. Alright. Ready? Set, go. Alright. You see it'll start jiggling, and we just know from the Canon that we have done. We're about to turn it down too. And so you can see the pressure gauge climbing to 15 psi. And once it kind of, well, that's the kitchen, babe. Once it kind of gets to where it's doing what we need it to, we'll process it for 15 minutes and shut it down. And then let it pressurize, and then after it's all the way down to 0 and not losing any more pressure, then we take the weight off, right? We do it that way. So we'll just show you guys that process when we get to it. There it's starting to jiggle. So we'll get ready to set our 15-minute timer now while it processes. And we'll bring you guys back here in just a little bit. So we lied to you guys a while ago on accident. Process time was 10 minutes at 15 pounds. So I know when we were saying that, something in me was like, that just don't sound right. And I looked in the book, and sure enough. So our 10 minutes is up now. And here's what you do. All you do is you turn the heat off. You don't move the canner. You don't take the weight off. You don't do anything. You just turn the heat off. And now you just let it set and let the pressure come out of the canner nice and slow in order to get everything done and done properly here. So we'll bring you back whenever that time comes. Still got a little bit of a jiggle, right? Build up pressure and jiggle away. So it's a good thing. It's going good. Things seem to be going good. Nothing crazy. Hadn't heard no weird sounds really to speak of. And so we'll just keep working along, trying to get these carrots ready to get processed as well while this is depressurizing. So if you can multitask a little bit, it makes the canning process of your garden goods go a whole lot faster. All right, guys, we'll bring you back in a little bit. So, let's have a talk, shall we? We forgot to show you the part where we took the tomatoes out of the canner. So basically, they cooked for 10 minutes at 15 psi. We took the little, we turned the heat off and let them depressurize until they were done. So in that time, we ate lunch. We tried to get our children who have got a cold to take a nap. Neither one of them did. Everybody's crying, I think, in this house. Everybody's shed a few tears. No, I'm just kidding. 3 out of 4 people have shed tears. And I'm not going to say the 3 out of the 4, but there's been 3 out of 4 shedding tears. So, what we're doing now is we've moved on to carrots. Carrots is, I've never canned carrots before. And my wife hasn't either. So, this will be a new experience for the both of us. So according to the Canon book, we take our raw carrots that we've thoroughly washed and sliced into little rounds. We will put them in a jar. We'll boil some water on the stove, and we will dump that boiling water in the jar after we fill it full of carrots to fill up the space. Add a little salt and put it back in the canner. And according to the trusty Canon book, it says that we need to can these things for 25 minutes at 15 psi. So that's what we are doing. That's what we're working on, and we'll show you some more of the process if we can remember to, and we can cut down on crying in the house, right? All right, guys. Those of you that have children understand, right, when they're little bitty especially and they don't feel good, they just want to be held all the time. And so that's why we're helping Mama today with the canning, trying to help her get this stuff canned. Or take a turn holding crying baby, whatever we need to do to try to help out. The both of us working together, that's how this stuff should operate, right? You guys, married couples, you guys are a couple working together, and it's best to remember that. So that's what we're doing today. We'll show you the carrots here in a little bit. All right, folks, let's do some talking. We had to abandon our strategy some today because of babies not feeling good. And so we had to take turns, one person taking care of the babies while the other one's canned, because they were just too fussy. We couldn't kind of both work on canning to try to get it knocked out. So I took care of the baby this time while Mama did the canning, and now she's taking care of the baby while I try to do some canning. And so she has been in here going crazy, just flat doing work, right? So I'm going to show you guys what she's done. There's the tomatoes in the back from earlier, and here's the carrots that we've talked about that we've never canned before. They just come out of the canner. You can see them still bubbling. And while she was doing the carrots, she did these pepper rings here, which those are habaneros. The ones a little bit further back, hard to see. Try to get it light. Those are banana peppers and jalapenos. More carrots, banana peppers, and jalapenos. She has been hard at work, and we've still got another canner of carrots to do, which will be good sides and also baby food for the little one. So if you're wondering how we do the carrots, basically, if you'll remember all the way back to the tomatoes, a lot of canning is kind of the same thing, just with different vegetables, right? And so our carrots, we stick them in the jar raw. We boil some water. We fill the jar full of carrots raw. And then we take the boiled water and dump in there with a little bit of salt. And then we pressure cook them in the canner at 15 psi, I think for 25 minutes or something like that. Now, what we didn't show, because I didn't want her to try to record while she was doing all that, because that's a lot to try to do all at one time, was her pepper rings that she made. And we make a pickled pepper ring in a water bath canner. You don't have to pressure cook them. We make a solution that's a bread and butter pickle recipe, basically, that we have found that we like. And we put our raw peppers in the jar, and then we pour in this bread and butter pickle solution. You got to cook it, you got to boil it, right? You pour it in there hot into the peppers, and then you just put them in a water bath canner. And then some of you that's never canned, you're saying, okay, crazy, what's a water bath canner? And all it is a big pot that you can put your jars down in, and you got to cover them with water and boil them. We boil them for 15 minutes. Now, what you do need to do when you use a water bath canner is you need to put a I don't know what it's called. It's like a jar rack. Whenever you have a canner, you buy a canner, it'll come with a rack that the jars actually sit on. So they're not sitting right on the pot, that's right on the burner. There's a rack that holds them up just a little bit. That way you don't break your jars on the heat of the burner that's transferring to your pot. Now, we have just found out that while it's not recommended, if you accidentally make a mistake and you forget to put the jar rack in the water bath canner, it's not the end of the world. These jars did survive it. They're fine. They're not cracked. They're not broken. They're not leaking.
nothing. They look good, and so maybe we got away with one there. But the reason why we want to document these mistakes also is to let you guys know, right? I would hate to just put YouTube videos out that was like 100% perfect all the time and everything was good, because then when you make a mistake, you feel like a failure, right? Listen, we fail. We make mistakes. It happens. Sometimes you get away with it, and praise the Lord, this time we did, and it worked out just fine, right? So my wife, once again, been in here hard at work. She has canned 4 pints of tomatoes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pints of carrots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pints of pepper rings. And now I'm going to come in and try to finish out the carrots while she holds a very fussy, very stuffy 3-month-old baby. Tries to keep her calm and keep her from crying. All right, guys, pray for me. Wife's a better canner than I am, but don't tell her that. Yeah, it's a secret, just between us. All right. Can I give you guys a little tip? See this big old pot? First of all, thank you again, Mom, for letting us borrow it. So this pot just had some boiling water that some jars was in to make pepper rings. It's just boiling water. It's all that was in here. And so my soap, my dishes that I'm trying to do to try to get caught back up, because Cannon makes a lot of dishes, I just dumped this water into the sink with a bunch of soap. It's already hot. It's clean. It's sanitized. Nothing wrong with it. Rather than waste a whole bunch of hot water, just dump your pot out, man. No reason to waste that. Alright, this is our pressure canner. We are currently sanitizing these jars. So they will boil for 10 minutes to sanitize them, so we can put our carrots in them. So as they boil, right, we'll take them out of here after 10 minutes. We'll dump the water out of the jar, dump it down the sink. When it's all said and done, we'll leave about 2 inches of water inside the canner for the processing. Over here, we have got some water warming up to put into the jars after we stuff them full of carrots. Back there on the back, we have got our lids and rings warming up. You don't have to do the rings, but we always do. So it's kind of just something we do. So I just want to let you guys know, once again, most of this canning stuff just repeat, right? Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. It's all easy. It's just long. It just takes a long time to do. So I just want to let you guys know again, right? This is how you learn to do it. Is you just keep doing it, and you keep repeating it, and you keep making mistakes. Like I said, we've made all kinds of mistakes. Earlier, we forgot to put the little rack in the water bather, and so, which you can see it down there, that metal rack that the jars are sitting on with the holes in it. We forgot to put it in the water bathroom. Thankfully, praise the Lord, the jars held, right? I told you about earlier this year, we were letting our jars get too cool. We was getting out 4 or 5 of them at a time, stuffing them full, putting them back in the canner. They was getting too cool, and they were cracking and breaking. Like, it happens, right? We've overfilled them before and had them come out, like went through the whole process and opened up the canner and realized that we'd overfilled our jars, and there was stuff everywhere, and it was a big mess and a giant waste of time when it was all said and done. We've made some mistakes, right? It's not bad when you make mistakes necessarily. You just learn from them, and you try to do better next time. And we'll continue to make mistakes. It happens. Now, we will bring you back a little bit later in the process once again and let you know kind of how this is done again. And I know what you think, like, we've already been through most of this. I get it, but that's the point, is it's a lot of repeat things, right? So after you do it a time or two, you kind of get the hang of it. It's not as intimidating. It's not as scary. You know what you're doing after you do it a time or two. And it just, it's satisfying work, but it also makes you, or helps you really appreciate the food that is on your table. I would say that even canning food, which we're going to do a video at the end of garden season, at the end of our garden season, anyhow at the end, that we'll price the stuff that we've canned at the store and see how much that stuff is, or try to approximately, and give you some figures on whether or not it's actually worth it cash wise. But I'd say another way that it helps you save money is it makes you really appreciate your food. And so you don't waste it, right? We try to have as little waste as possible, and for some reason, if we don't get food ate, it goes to the chickens most of the time as feed. So it might help you save just in the aspect of appreciating what you have even more. Guys, we'll bring you back to the process here in a little bit. There's the beautiful carrots. Look at them things. Absolutely beautiful. Cut up, ready to go in some jars, make some good baby food, make some good side dishes. Alright guys, so our 10 minutes of sanitation's up. So we will just take the jars out of the canner, as you can see, and we will dump them into the sink and fill them full of carrots and put them back in the canner. See there? Empty, steaming jar. I forget everything's backwards on camera. Now, jar goes here. Put that down. Take our funnel. Fill it full of raw carrots that have been sliced, cut. This is a poker. I don't know if that's a technical term. That's what we call it. Helps you kind of pack the carrots down in there a little tighter. We use this for everything, just about. Fill it a little bit more. If I'm remembering correctly, we're supposed to have a 1/2 inch of head space. This is a full teaspoon of salt, so I only need half of it, approximately. Woo. Approximately. Now, take your water, your hot, steaming water that's over here, dump her down over your carrots. Like so. Once again, not forgetting to allow for that 1/2 inch of head space on top of your jar. What I mean by that is there should be a 1/2 inch between your liquid and solid contents and the top of your jar. That's what I mean by a 1/2 inch of head space. So now I will grab, they make a magnet for grabbing these lids where it's not as hot on the fingers, but you kind of get used to it. Now what else to say? Put the lid on. Take your handy dandy grabbers. Place your jar right back in the heat. And then get your next one. Basically repeat the process until you're out of carrots.